Hi, big welcome to you all to Cricket Fan Zone podcast. This is Aditya here, and it is our first podcast, and I am thrilled and hyped to connect with you all. Uh, just a quick introduction on what gave birth to Cricket Fan Zone podcast channel. I have been writing cricket blogs and cricket posts in Facebook and Facebook groups, as well as I have got my own Facebook page and a WordPress blog. I have given details of those below the description of this video. Make sure you go and check that out and share your views. And I just thought at times the content which I'm trying to present is a lot more to be consumed as words. So it would be better to be put it up as a video or in an audio format. And that basically gave birth to Cricket Fans Zone podcast and YouTube channel. Before we go into today's topic of discussion, it will be only right for me to thank all the doctors, civic workers, and everyone who is fighting this COVID 19 war for us from the front line. I would like to keep them and their family in my prayers during this tough time. I also want to add that I have immense amount of faith in the medical research and the other scientific research that are going on to eradicate this COVID 19. And I believe in very near future we would come out of the storm. And let's all hope for the same. So going into today's topic, we cannot evade COVID 19, can we? And today's topic is going to circle around what COVID 19 has created as an impact towards the game of cricket and how it is going to impact the World Cup 2020 T20 format, which is scheduled to happen in October in Australia. We are going to discuss about the five factors that COVID 19 has created, which is going to make ICC think twice about rescheduling or even about cancelling this World Cup event. The first factor, as we spoke, is about the uncertainty of COVID 19. Uh, as we speak, every hour, every day, every week, every month, the situation unfortunately seems to be going from bad to worse, right? A lot of sporting events across the globe have got postponed. The Euro 2020 is into 21. Olympics is scheduled to go at 2021. Uh, Wimbledon, for the first time after World War II, has shockingly got cancelled, right? So that shows the impact is huge on the sporting events. And a lot of cricketing series have also got postponed. We do know that. IPL got postponed to April 15th, and now, by the looks of it, there is no chance of it happening on April 15th. It is going to be pushed indefinitely, which is inevitable now. The only event we were having a thought of that might be immune was T20 World Cup because it was a little bit far away in October, as we said. But the World Cup event is not about players and teams just going on to put up a show. There are a lot of other aspects involved. If we look at it, it is going to be the sponsors, it is going to be post production, production team, media, and so many other elements associated to that. So ICC cannot take it lightly, and they need to take a call at least 3 months before the date at which the World Cup first match or first game is going to commence, which gives them time somewhere in July start. If we stand to say that we are in April, so it is about 2.5 to 3 months time. Looking at the way the situation is getting worse every day, 2.5 to 3 months time is a very short span of time. And what is more worrying is ICC haven't come out and set a deadline to say this is when we are going to announce on whether the World Cup is going to happen or not. In one way, they would feel that taking more time is good, but procrastination in such situation is not going to help. Uh, for the betterment of the game and for the betterment of the fans and everyone, it's high time that they at least set a date that this is where we are going to take a decision, rather than making people wait when you know the inevitable is going to be to push the event back. So this uncertainty has created a lot of doubts in the mind of ICC and a lot of other cricket boards about the happening of this T20 World Cup. That's the way I see it. The second point is about fans turning up in large numbers to the stadium. Let me put it this way: this World Cup is going to be the biggest ever event in the history of world cricket. It's going to be 20 teams, 20 teams that are going to participate in this World Cup, which makes it the largest World Cup ever. Because the 50 overs format is not something that the global audience are ready to buy to. They don't want to sit for 7 hours to watch a sport event, uh, travel. I mean, they feel like 7 hours is too much amount of a time. So that gave birth to T20, and ICC has done the right thing of trying to reach the global audience through T20 format to appeal to non-cricketing nations by including 20 teams and giving them the right opportunity to compete in a format which also appeals to the audience, as well as the gulf and gap between the competition seems to be a little minimal. On a given day, any associate nation can also be able to compete and even win a game of cricket against a full-time member. That's what T20 has provided as a biggest opportunity. So this World Cup is not supposed to be taken lightly, right? So when we say this World Cup is going to be the biggest event in the history of world cricket to take the game to the global audience, the fans, the buzz they create, the atmosphere they create is going to play a huge part in making this event a grand success. Australia have got big grounds, big capacities. The fans are going to turn up in thousands and thousands and 10,000s. That's what is expected. But when the situation is so grim and dark, and as we stand now, that there seems to be no certain information of a drug could be available. I mean, this needs to be taken up like a flu at some point so that people are not worried about their life. So, till they are worried about their life, even the governments and the other people who are observing COVID-19 cannot allow people to go on large gatherings. Even if we bring this under control, let us put it this way: if this World Cup is happening and then people go in thousands and 10,000s, even though we have got this into control, but we don't have a drug, we don't treat this as a flu. If one person has this in the stadium, then the entire stadium needs to be monitored. I mean, the people in the entire stadium needs to be monitored and they have to be quarantined, which doesn't help, because if you have brought it into control, you want to keep it into control and make the situation go away before you allow people to go back to normal life of gathering around and staying happy, right? And people will also be worried. Why would they want to take a chance to go into large gathering knowing that this thing could eventually come back and hit them hard and put their life at risk? So it's a big no-no. The people will also be not interested or to turn up with their life at stake. And I don't think any government is going to even allow that to happen. So there is no way the World Cup can happen with empty stadiums. You're appealing to the global audience. What would you even present? So ICC cannot take this part lightly, and they have to think about the safety of the fans, as well as they would want the fans to come in large numbers and have packed stadiums for this event to be a big success. Before we move into third point, we spoke about the uncertainty, we spoke about sponsors, we spoke about a lot of factors associated to it and why they need to inform beforehand and about the fans. But we haven't spoken about the players, have we? Uh, Players, they are going to be the soul of the game. They are going to put up that show. It's not just about the safety of the players. They have been away from the game for last 6-7 months. In that case, let us assume if a truncated IPL is not going to happen, and it also looks like India's tour to Australia, which is about to take place just before the World Cup, looks to be in jeopardy. There are talks going on whether that event could happen. If the event is having uh, trouble of taking place, which is scheduled at August, then they are looking at it with a closer eye, and there seems to be a bigger problem, right? If IPL nor such tournaments even nearing to the World Cup is not going to happen, then the players are going to be away from the game for 6 7 months, and it is not right to throw them into a showpiece event like World Cup and expect them to perform at their best. They might not be physically fit, they might not be mentally fit. What about the team chemistry? What about the atmosphere? The dressing room atmosphere is always said to be the most important thing for a team to perform at its best. So that will not be there. And what about selection? How will they go on and select a 15-member team? Because they haven't played together for months. What would be the team combination? How do you know who's having who's having a good form or who is out of touch? It's too big a task for selectors, and it will be hard on players who don't get selected. And few players who get selected might not even have been selected on merit. I mean, the parameters are going to be not so real if you don't have last 6 months data. It's going to be based on gut feel. You are going to go and select players. Ultimately, what I'm trying to say is it's not healthy for the players as well as for the tournament to take place, because the quality of the game will not be at its best. When the players are at their best shape and at their best mind frame, that is when event will look so attractive. If not, they will be rusty and the quality of the game will be flat out poor. We don't want to project that kind of World Cup to the global audience. ICC wouldn't want to do that. None of the boards wouldn't want to do that. The players will have their own questions on why we are doing this. So that will act as a big factor, I believe. The fourth one. The fourth one is going to be about associate nations. For people who are not sure of how revenue is generated in cricket or how it is shared, just a quick information on it. 70 to 75% of the global cricket revenue is generated through the big three. When I say the big three, it is BCCI, it is England Cricket Board ECB, and then it is going to be Cricket Australia CA. So they contribute to 75% of the revenue because fans across the globe for cricket are from India first, and then England, and then Cricket Australia. No disrespect to Pakistan, but last 10 years Pakistan haven't got game in their home country, so they couldn't contribute to the revenue, right? And these three nations are the big nations. So when ICC is going to split the revenue and give it back to the boards as a contribution every year, 60% goes to these three boards, and the rest is shared by other full-time members as well as associate nations. So in the last decade or so, the full-time nations like Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, in fact, Cricket South Africa, no one would believe, but last 4 or 5 years, Cricket South Africa have taken a huge hit in terms of revenue, in terms of financial muscle. West Indies have gone from bad to worse. Zimbabwe have become so bad that they even had to, dismantle their entire board. They got banned by ICC in last few years' time, and it's almost like they no longer even exist. That's how bad even full-time members have got affected in the last decade or so. Then think about the associate nation. They really get nothing out of this revenue system. They don't have any financial power in that sense. So 6 months without cricket, how are they able to support their players? How are they able to feed their players? How are they able to pay their players? If the players have not got paid, already those players don't have a fat paycheck. Like the Virat Kohlis, like the Stephen Smith, like Joe Root, they don't get that fat paychecks. They don't get a lot of sponsors. So they are already having a very thin pocket. Without 6 months of paychecks, they would have become they would have got into a lot more of a difficult situation. How well they will be able to prepare now, how well the boards will be able to support them even when things get back to normal. It is going to take a lot of time for them to regroup, regather, and then come back. So ICC needs to look at it, because these nations are going to compete in the World Cup. When they are competing, already we know the gulf of gap between the full-time members and the associate nations are a little bit too big. That's why the competition is not as good as it is. That's why people feel like cricket is a hard game, because countries who have been playing it for years are too good for us to even compete with them. That's one of the factors that a lot of new nations are not even taking up that game, even though if it's a T20 format. But Having said that, ICC have tried to make it more competitive. A lot of rules and a lot of things have changed, and the associate nations are able to give us scare and also able to win games against full-time nations in T20 format. But they should be on top of their game to do that. The situation doesn't allow them to be on top of their game. So ICC needs to have a closer look at it. If they're not at their best condition, then they shouldn't be made or they shouldn't be forced to compete and project a quality of cricket that looks utterly poor. That shouldn't be done. And as we spoke about all these four factors, we have come to the last factor. The last factor is about the kind of precautions and safety measures Cricket Australia and Australian board needs to take if this event even have to happen. So as we said, by October, there is no way this world is going to forget about COVID-19. It is still going to remain fresh. The situation is like a seed planted in the minds of people. It has grown so much till we get a proper drug to treat it as a flu, as we said. This panic is not going to go away. In spite of all these factors being in there, still ICC finds space and then they push the World Cup to happen. Still, Australia needs to take so much amount of care. They have to take so much amount of sanitation work they need to do in and around the stadium for the well-being of the players for starters and for well-being of the fans. Fans might be traveling from different parts of the world, might not be in large numbers because of the situation, but still they will be traveling. When they travel, a lot of precaution needs to be taken care. They will be staying in hotels. How are they going to manage that? How are they going to monitor them? Doing so, they are going to spend so much amount of money. They are going to inject so much amount of money in doing that. Already, a lot of countries have taken a huge hit financially because of COVID-19. So, will Australia be even ready to do that? Is that even fruitful for them to push to that limit to conduct this event? I don't believe so, and I don't believe ICC will also like to push them to do this. So as we discussed, all these factors unfortunately stand against the World Cup going as per schedule. But if the World Cup is pushed to next year, what will happen? Because already there is a 2021 T20 World Cup scheduled to happen in India because Champions Trophy was scrapped after 2017. Maybe it's time for them to decide why to have two World Cups. Let us make only one World Cup and then maybe they should sit down and discuss, and BCCI might not be happy about it. But they have to do something and ensure if this World Cup is pushed, you cannot have two World Cups of the same format in the same year. It doesn't make sense. So they should have just one event. Maybe they could make it so big that at the end of the day, cricket as a sport gets its global presence and global appeal on a longer run. There are a lot of positives for the game of cricket. That's the only positive we could see at this point of time if the event is conducted in the right way as we want it to be conducted. So having said that, we have come to end of our first podcast and discussion. If you like this video, go ahead and like this video and hit the like button. And whatever you feel about the situation, the factors we discussed, your views and your thoughts, do share it and comment. We would like to have fruitful discussions with you. If you feel the video is good, you can share it with your friends. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell symbol to get all our latest videos into your YouTube feed. And I am assuring you there are a lot of exciting videos we are posting real soon. And I'm excited to connect with you all. As I said, this is going to be tough times, but let's all connect, share our views about the sport we love, and get some light movement. That's the best we can do sitting in our homes, right? We cannot do much more. We cannot go out. That's how the situation is. But let's make the most of it by talking about something we love, right? Before I sign off, I just want to say take care, stay indoor, stay safe, stay healthy. Let us fight this war together. We will all come out of this real soon. Bye-bye. Take care.